Good morning students. How are you all? I hope you all are fine and safe at home. This is Jyoti Nahar from Shiv Jyoti Educational Group, Kota, and I am going to take class 6 science, and the chapter that we are going to take for revision today is chapter number 13, Fun with Magnets. So quickly we will take up the important points of this chapter. The important points to remember for this chapter are history of magnets, types of magnets, magnetic and non-magnetic substances, poles of a magnet, properties of magnet, making a magnet, attraction and repulsion between magnets, and storing magnetic properties. So these are the important topics that we are going to take up in this chapter. Let us take up a quick recapitulation of the chapter. The first topic of this chapter is types of magnets. Now first of all, I would like to tell you how the magnets were discovered. Magnets, they were discovered by a Greek shepherd named Magnus, and it was excellently discovered when his iron tip of the stick, it got stuck in a huge black rock, and this black rock was later named as magnetite after the name of the shepherd, and later on it was called leading stone or lodestone. Now on the basis of their origin, we divide magnets into two types: natural magnets and artificial magnets. Now the lodestone, which was accidentally discovered or which is occurring naturally, is called the natural magnet, but the power of a natural magnet is low as compared to the power of the artificial magnets, and these artificial magnets are man-made magnets, and they are made in different shapes and sizes according to the requirement. They may be horseshoe, bar magnet, ring magnet, ball-ended magnet or cylindrical magnet, and the power of these artificial magnets is much more higher than the natural magnets. Next topic is poles of a magnet. Now let us see it on the board. Now the two ends of the bar magnet are called the poles of the bar magnet. That is, it may be north pole or the south pole, and the magnetism is maximum at the both ends. Now these two poles show, when the two magnets they are brought closer to each other, these two poles show attraction or repulsion between magnets. Now how are these? Like if we bring north pole of one magnet near to the north pole of the other magnet, it will repel each other, means they tend to push each other apart. So we can say similarly, if south pole of one magnet is brought closer to the south pole of the other magnet, again the two magnets will show repulsion. So like we can say from this activity that the like poles, they always repel each other, they show repulsion. On the other hand, if I take the north pole of one magnet and if I bring it closer to the south pole of the other magnet, we see that they attract each other, they bring closer to each other, means they will attract each other. Similarly, if the south pole of one magnet is brought closer to the north pole of the other magnet, again the two magnets will show attraction. Again this shows that unlike poles, they show attraction between the two poles, and these two poles, that is the north pole and the south pole of a magnet, they do not exist independently, they always exist in pairs. Even if we break down the magnet into two pieces, the broken piece again behaves as a whole magnet. From this we can say, it means basically we can say that the two poles of the magnet, they always exist in pairs. Whether we break it into smaller or even smaller pieces. The poles are immediately created as soon as we break down the magnet. So whether it is a smallest piece of magnet, it will have both the poles, that is the north pole and the south pole. Both the poles will exist in pairs. Now children, our next topic is properties of a magnet. The characteristic properties of a magnet are directional property and attractive property. According to the directional property, a freely suspended magnet will always point in the north-south direction. If a freely suspended magnet is taken, it will always point in the north-south direction, and this property of the magnet is known as directional property. Now the next property is attractive property. According to this property, a magnet always attracts iron or other magnetic substances, maybe cobalt or nickel. It always attracts magnetic substances towards itself. Next topic is making a magnet. Now there are various methods by which we can make a magnetic substance. We can convert a magnetic substance into a magnet. The three methods given here are single touch method, double touch method, and with the help of an electric current. Here we have the single touch method. In this we have taken a magnetic material and a bar magnet. By repeatedly rubbing the magnet with the same pole and in the same direction, we can convert this magnetic material into a magnet, and this process of converting the magnetic material into a magnet is called single touch method. Now our next topic is storing magnetic properties. Now a magnet, it tends to lose its properties if it is not handled properly. If it is hammered or heated or dropped from a height, then the magnet loses its properties. So we need to store magnets very safely and properly. There is a simple way of protecting or storing these magnets by using magnetic keepers. The two bar magnets are stored safely by placing the opposite poles on the same side with a wooden block in between, and the two soft iron bars are there, which are called magnetic keepers, and by using these we can store magnets safely. Sometimes the magnets, the poles, if they are left loose, they demagnetize, that is, they get self demagnetized, they tend to lose their properties. So we need to store magnets very safely. Now this was about the chapter. Let us discuss the internal questions of this chapter. The first internal question: how many poles does a magnet have? This question you will find in your books on page number 194. That is question G, fourth part, and it is on page number 194 from the back questions. And the answer for this question, the two poles of the magnet are, there are two poles, north pole and the south pole. Second question: what are the two types of a magnet? Again you will find this question in the back exercise, that is question number G, sixth part, on page number 194. And the two types of magnets are natural magnet and the artificial magnets. Now these were the internal questions. You have to write them down, students, in the book. Now we are going to discuss the copy work. First we are going to discuss the definitions of this chapter. First definition of this chapter is magnetic compass. Now magnetic compass, it is a small device in which we have a magnetic needle and which is used to find directions by the navigators. A device that is used to find directions like north, south, east, west on the surface of the earth. Second one is magnetic substances. Now what are magnetic substances? The substances which are attracted by a magnet. The substance which are attracted by a magnet are called magnetic substances, and these substances may be made of iron, cobalt or nickel. Next is non-magnetic substances. Now children, you must have observed that some substances, they are not attracted towards the magnet, like wood, rubber, plastics. These are not attracted by the magnet. So these substances which are not attracted by magnet are called non-magnetic substances, and the examples are aluminum, copper, wood, plastics. All these are non-magnetic substances. Fourth definition here is magnet. What is a magnet? It is an object which attracts materials like iron, cobalt and nickel. It is a substance which attracts magnetic materials, that is iron, cobalt and nickel. Now starting with the give reasons. The first one, repulsion but not attraction is a surest test of magnetism. Now this repulsion, it may occur only if we bring the like poles of the magnet, but attraction is there between any of the pole and the magnetic substances, also between the two unlike poles of the magnet. So attraction is a sure test of a magnet. So attraction can be caused either by opposite poles of magnets or between one pole of the magnet and the magnetic substances. Like if we bring the magnet near iron pieces, it attracts, but repulsion can only be caused by like poles. That is, if we bring the north pole to the near the north pole or south pole near the south pole of the other magnet, then only repulsion will be there. Next is, to store magnets, magnetic keepers are used. As we discussed just now, that magnets, they tend to become weaker after some time if their poles are left free, and this is called self demagnetization. So it has to be stored in magnetic keepers using an wooden rod or in between and two soft iron pieces called magnetic keepers, and it should be stored with magnetic keepers so that the magnetic poles do not lose their magnetism. Magnetic poles always exist in pairs. Now the two poles of the magnets, they always exist in pairs, that is, we cannot divide them separately. A magnet has two poles. The two poles of any magnet cannot exist independently, that is, we cannot divide the north pole and the south pole. If a bar magnet is broken into two pieces, then each piece behaves as a whole magnet. Even if we break down the magnet into two pieces, again the broken piece also behaves as a whole magnet. A freely suspended magnet points in the north-south direction and not east-west direction. This is the directional property of a magnet, that if a magnet is suspended freely, it will always point towards north-south direction. So Earth itself is a huge magnet with its north and south pole. We have the north pole and the south pole of the Earth, and so a freely suspended magnet points in the north-south direction, not in the east-west direction. Now coming up to the question and answers of this chapter. The first one, how can a magnet lose its properties? This is the first part. A magnet can lose its properties by the following process. Write any three ways you have to write, that is, the three ways are heating the magnet above a certain temperature. If we heat the magnet above a certain temperature, it loses its magnetism. Again, by hammering the magnet, or if we drop the magnet from a certain height, the magnet will lose its magnetism. The properties are lost by the magnet. Second question here is, name two characteristic properties of a magnet. The two characteristic properties are the directional property and the attractive property. According to the directional property, it always points in the north-south direction, and according to the attractive property, it attracts small pieces of iron towards itself. And the second part here of this question is, why is the study of magnetism important. Study of magnetism is important because magnets are used in homes, offices and in various types of machines. We use magnets in our everyday life, in offices, in homes, in industries, these are used. So, we need to know their properties and about the poles. So, study of magnetism is important for us. Now, the third question, describe with the help of an experiment that a freely suspended magnet comes to rest in the north-south direction. Now, we will have a simple activity over here which shows that the magnet suspended freely will always come to rest in the north-south direction. The steps for the experiment are as follows. Mark north, south, east and west directions with the help of a magnetic compass on the table with the chalk. Now, we take a table, on that we mark the directions with the help of a chalk, that is north, south, east and west directions are marked. Then we tie a magnet with a thread like this. We tie a magnet from the center with a thread and hang it over the table. We hang the thread loosely over the table. Allow the magnet to come to rest. When we allow it to come to rest, we see that the one end of the bar magnet is pointing towards the geographic north, that is we have marked as north, and another end pointing towards the geographic south called the south pole of the bar magnet. That is, it will always if we hang it loose, it will always point in the north-south direction. So, this is a simple activity that we have done just to show that a freely suspended magnet, it comes to rest in the north-south direction. Now, our last question of this chapter is differentiate between a natural magnet and an artificial magnet. The differences between a natural magnet and an artificial magnet is, the natural magnet, it is obtained naturally and it may be of any shape. Artificial magnet, it is a man-made magnet whose shape and size is created by man according to a requirement. This natural magnet is a permanent magnet, but artificial magnets are temporary magnets. Like an electromagnet, it loses its magnetism as soon as we switch off the current. So, it is a temporary magnet. The example of natural magnets are magnetite, whereas artificial magnets, they may be of different shapes and sizes like bar magnets, horseshoe magnets, cylindrical magnets and many more. So, students, we have discussed the internal questions and the copy work, and we have also discussed the chapter in brief. So, students, you need to do the internal questions in the book according to the page numbers mentioned, and if you have not done the copy work yet, do it quickly and so that you are ready for the revision. Thank you, students.